Hi there, I am Cheyenne Young and I am a co-host of Writers Uncut. And today's episode, I don't know, I think we're number 19 or 20. We we record every single Wednesday at 11 o'clock Central Time, and I'm waiting on my co-host Deirdre to join me so we can get started. I don't see her yet. But while we wait, a little plug. If you join us on Facebook, you can find the group called Writers Uncut Group and join us, and we would love to have you chat. And we chat about books, we chat about our episodes. We're a small group, but we're a fun group. And you can also join us on YouTube, which is just go to YouTube and search Writers Uncut, and you can find most of our previous episodes, although sometimes they get lost in the Instagram world, and I can't save them and upload them. Like last week, we had a great episode and we lost it, so I wasn't able to upload it. But you can find a lot of our episodes there, and we would really appreciate if you could subscribe to it. Because once we get 100 subscribers, they let us have a custom YouTube URL, so I can stop telling people to go to YouTube and search Writers Uncut. I can tell them to go to YouTube/Writers Uncut. It's on, and let's wait a second for her to pop up. Hey.
Hello, my head's cut off. Good morning.
Good morning. I just realized I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb mode, so I did that.
I just did that too. I almost forgot as I was coming on because randomly I'll get like telemarketer calls and stuff, and I'm just like, come on. I never answer.
Me too.
How are you?
Well, I'm good. How are you?
I'm tired.
Yeah, me too. Your hair looks different. Did you do something to it?
I'm actually getting it done today. I kind of like put it off to the side and it's down. I don't know. I kind of hate my hair.
I
I
have
love it.
not brushed mine. I think mine actually looks kind of good today,
Looks really good.
but I haven't done anything to it.
I want that hair. I want hair that I can wash and wear, and it's yeah. Alas, that was not what I was born with. Hey, Cassie,
Hey,
congratulations.
Cassie, thanks for joining us. You are our first person on today.
Yay. And if you have any questions about being a hybrid author, now that you are,
Mm-hmm.
um, let us know.
You said yes. Oh, is that hair?
Yeah, share that hair with
You
me.
guys can have half of it. Every time I vacuum the floor, I gotta yank like tons of my hair out of the vacuum. It's very thick, and there's just so much of it.
I love it.
Anyway.
My kids have good hair. I have like hair envy every day. I'm like, I want your hair. So anyway, and you know, if anyone's watching this on YouTube, I heard you giving our little intro about that. You can always leave us questions in the YouTube comment boxes. I don't know if you said that, or message us or email us or whatever. If you have questions about Writers Uncut, about writing, and we can answer here on Writers Uncut. Anything from, you know, like what's the format of a query letter to, you know, how do I find people to read my books to, we have a great question from one of our viewers, Matt Voyager. We're going to talk about sort of a little bit more about outlining, which we cover a lot here, along with kind of character development and how that can work if you are more of a pantster.
And also the publishing process too, because
Yeah.
both of us we're hybrid authors. We have self-published and been traditionally published, so we can share insight on that as well. So any questions you have, let us know. I was gonna say should we maybe save Matt's question a little bit and see if he
Yeah.
joins, because he
Yeah.
usually does join.
I also wanted to say we've both made a lot of mistakes and we've learned a lot, and so we're happy to share all of those with you and share our experience. And also another aspect of this broadcast that I really love is we're Writers Uncut. So we're doing it on the fly, like we don't have notes really generally. Sometimes I write a few things down, but also we cover some of the more the stuff that isn't always talked about, like in the bright and shiny publishing world, like how difficult it can be, and the challenges we've faced, and kind of creating that support and solidarity among all authors, whether you're traditionally or independently published, or if you haven't gotten there yet and you're just still in the process, because it is a journey, and every day as a writer, I think you almost start over. Like you're just your pen to page or fingers to the keyboard. And even if you've written 50 books, it's still the same process every time. I mean, not the same process technically, but it's still the same like emotional process. You know, you're starting at the beginning, you're writing until the end, and it's like we all come back to that every single time, no matter how much experience we have. So
it never gets easier. And I was thinking the other day, because I follow R.L. Stine on Goodreads, and he was, he was my childhood hero. I read every single, I actually didn't read the Goosebumps books. I read a few of them, but I always felt I was too mature for those. So I read the Fear Street books.
I love
and and I'm actually very mad because I probably had 100 of them.
Yeah.
That was my allowance every week, was I got paid in a new Fear Street book. And at some point when my parents moved houses, those books disappeared because I had moved out and left them at my parents' house. And they're gone. And I have searched through their attics. I've searched through every box. I can't find them. I think someone donated them or something. And
there's like a church or like a church
right
sale or something.
But I was like 100 books that say Cheyenne Young written on inside the cover. I used to put little threats in my books too, like if you steal this book, I don't know, like I would be like, property of Cheyenne Young, do not touch or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was thinking the other day, because I get these Goodreads emails saying like R.L. Stine has a new book out, and it's like, does he go through any of the stuff we do? Because I would think maybe when you're like his level of having written hundreds of books,
yeah,
maybe it does get a little bit easier. Like,
it might.
And also, when you're him, I bet he doesn't get as many rejections from publishers like we do, because his books are all by the same publisher, I think. So you know what I mean? So it's like, maybe it does get a little bit easier after a while, but for us, no, it hasn't gotten any easier yet. It in fact gets harder, I think. Writing that book that gets you the agent and your first book deal is probably the easiest part of this. And I know that sounds backwards. But it really is, because like right now I've got a book on submission, and then I need to write another one, which would be my third book that we try to submit for publishing. And it's like, I can't begin it. I have brainstormed it, I've plotted it, I've outlined it, it's in my head, and like I cannot and I even know the first sentence. Like, I think I said this in our last episode. I almost have the whole first paragraph in my brain because I've repeated it in my head so many times, and I don't want to start writing it because it's like, oh, this is so hard,
I do know, and I think being an author, published author in whatever capacity, it's like a constant lesson in patience and humility. It's like you're always going back to that beginning. You cross a hurdle. You brainstorm the book, that's one hurdle. You outline the book, that's the next hurdle. You write the book, that's the next one. And then whether you're querying it, whatever you're doing, and then there's that, and then there's like it's this iteration of the same emotional thing each and every time, but it's just like in a different format. It seems like we have a few more people joining us. Hey Tracy, hey guys. But it is, each time it's just like, it's daunting. I think someone said that. It's agonizing, and yet we keep doing it, so there must be something really redeeming about it as well.
I don't know. It's so funny how we get in our own heads a lot as a writer. So Cassie said we need to know the first sentence. So the first sentence of the book that's in my head that I'll be writing, it is, are you ready for it? It doesn't sound like great if I say it out loud. We are failing the Bechdel test. Y'all know what that is?
I don't.
Well, it will go on to describe it. The Bechdel test is this thing that says that in every piece of fiction ever, if two women are talking with each other, they start bringing up men. It says that no two women can ever have a conversation in a story without talking about men. And when I first heard it, I was like, no, that's stupid. That pisses me off. That is not true. And if you watch every movie, every book, when two girls are together, they're talking about boys. And it's like, I hate it so much. And so I always try to put these in my books now. Like, we are more than just talking about men. We really are. So that is how this book starts. And it's because my main character and her friends are all chatting, and they're all chatting about her boyfriend, and they think her boyfriend is just the world's best boyfriend, and she's pretty much decided she wants to break up with him. So that's how the book begins, is her pointing out that they are failing the Bechdel test because they can't have a single conversation that's not talking about men. So that's my new book that I'm terrified to start writing.
I love that concept, but I love, like, it's like a weight is dropped, like boom, like we want to know what that means. Like I think we were talking about this last week. Like if you don't know what the Bechdel test is, you're like instantly curious because that, and then why are they failing? Like, you know what I mean? And so love it, love it, love it, love it.
So
Yay.
very excited. And I was actually thinking last night, I was on the treadmill thinking about my book, and I was like, at this point, I almost wonder if I'm going to have the entire novel written in my mind before I bother putting it down, because it's like, I just cannot start on this. And I'm hoping that by April, so by April 1st, which is April Fool's Day, so maybe that's a joke on me, that's when I'm actually planning to actually sit down and start writing it. So we'll have to see. I'll have to update you guys. Yeah. But right now, it's like, it's just marinating in my brain because the pressure is really on after you have that first, and I say first because The Last Wish of Sasha Cade is my 5th published book, but it's my first agented published book. It's my first hardback book. So it's my first, big book in my mind. And so now writing more books is just absolutely terrifying for me. So this is the place that I'm in my career right now. It's like, I'd way rather be doing my freelance writing that doesn't have my name slapped on the cover than writing another book for my agent right now.
That's like a whole, like we were saying before, like it's a whole new, not new, but it's just other versions of pressure and stress that, like, you think like, oh, I finished my book and it's out, but it, like, then there's just, it keeps going. So, anyway, so just looping back to what I was saying, we talk about stuff like that here on Writers Uncut too. So if you have any questions, pop them in the comment box for us, please. And that was a little bit of your personal update. Did you have any other things going on that you wanted to share?
No, that's about it.
Awesome pink treadmill that I totally want.
Isn't it so cool, you guys? It's on Amazon. It's pretty cheap too. Yeah, and my husband saw it and he was like, "Oh my God." And I said, "What? If they offer a pink version of something on Amazon, why wouldn't I buy it?" Hello.
Yeah.
But he calls it Barbie's Dream Treadmill because it's a pink treadmill and it's amazing. And I put a board across the top handlebars so I can write while I'm walking. And I know you guys know that I do the bike desk, but I'm just kind of tired of the bike desk, so I just need something else. So now I'm doing the treadmill, so I'm really excited about it.
So you can walk and type. You made it like a way to do that, because that was my big question.
You have to do it kind of slow because it's like if you walk too fast, your hands don't tight. Yeah, so I walk kind of slow, but I'm still walking. So and I feel like it really keeps you focused. Yeah. Because it's like your body's doing something, so your mind just stays focused on writing. Yeah. Because like sitting at a desk and a computer and trying to write is the hardest thing for me to do because I just get too distracted. It's too easy to just stop writing. So that's what I loved about the bike desk, and that's what I love about the treadmill. So I highly recommend it for getting, and they call it the butt and chair writing, but I call it the body and motion writing, maybe, So
my low back is, I think we were talking about like writer aches and pains and stuff a couple weeks ago, and just this past week, my low back, it's the way I'm sitting. I think I'm like dumping into it, and like I need to find a new way.
Yeah, get a treadmill desk. They are amazing.
Cassie says she writes on her phone 90% of the time. What, girl?
I don't know how she does it. Is that all just typing, or are you dictating?
With thumbs?
Because you must have like real strong thumbs. I don't even like texting very long. I don't like, if I have to text like 2 or 3 sentences, I hate it. So that's pretty impressive. That's very impressive.
Yep, what? Yep with your thumbs, or yep dictating?
So she's got nobody play thumb wars with Cassie.
She'll take you down. Oh, she has a huge phone. That helps. Yeah, I have a small one. I have like, my pinky gets cramps. All right, for those of you who have just joined us, if you have any questions about writing, publishing, promotion, any of that stuff, pop them in the comment box, and we'll give you a few moments to do that. We do have a question from, I can't dictate either. I'll talk about that in a second. We have one question from Matt Voyager. If you're still on here, we will get to that in a moment. My personal update, I have been full steam ahead with my my pen name stuff and doing some other traditional name stuff as well. But I do want to say I tried dictating this week for the first time, and I sometimes dictate emails, which, as Cheyenne knows, can be pretty hilarious.
You have to sound it out. Because it'll take your words, it puts different words, but if I read it out loud, what was the one? I think you said Kindle?
Yeah.
And it was like Kendall?
Yeah.
And I was like, if you read it out loud, I can understand what you're saying. But go on.
Which is actually that's a really good tip. If you write something and you can't, like, if it autocorrects or whatever and you can't tell what it is, I think that's genius. Like, read it out loud and you'll hear what you were trying to say. Like, sometimes, or I'll be typing and like my fingers are just on the wrong keys for a minute and I'll go back and be like, what was that? And if I read it out loud, sometimes I can tell. But anyway, so I tried dictating. It was a big fail. And the reason it was a fail wasn't only because it wasn't picking up my voice very well, which I don't think I have an accent, or, I don't think I mumble or anything. I was trying to speak very clearly. It was like my mind emptied and I didn't know anything. Like, I was talking into the microphone, like, I just couldn't think. I was like that. I was like, whoa,
I think empty. Some people love dictation, and a lot of authors are saying it's the most amazing thing that ever happened to them. So it might just be something you have to try out. But for me, it's like, you're not looking at anything. I'm not looking at the screen. I'm not seeing my words. So my brain just kind of wanders. And yeah, I can't focus on what I'm trying to write. So I don't like dictation either. Like, it's too hard. I can't. It's like how some people say they can't listen to audiobooks, because it's like, if you're not reading the book, you can't pay attention to it. I feel like if I'm not looking at the screen, I can't do it either. Yeah. So, and plus I'm a fast enough typer that I can type at the speed of my thoughts. So it's not that hard. But I think if you have trouble typing, dictation might be really great.
Yeah.
My husband loves it, but I hate it.
Writer Tim says, it always seems like a good idea, but I'm like that too. I go blank. Yeah. And then Jen says, I'm starting to get into it. I practice with sending text that way. Yeah. Practicing, I think, and kind of like it's like learning a new skill. Like, I remember in high school, I used to write my papers like literally by hand. And then the teacher started wanting them typed. And I was just like, I can't do this. And it was because I couldn't translate what I wanted to say into my fingers. And so I think it is a skill to learn to kind of tap into the writer mind and verbally express what you're trying to say. But yeah, just a total blank.
I used to make money typing people's reports in high school, because that was right about the time where teachers wanted them typed.
Yeah.
And I was an AOL Instant Messenger connoisseur with my best friend. So I would say that AOL Instant Messenger taught me how to type, because I was a very fast typer, and my friends would pay me like $5 to type up their written reports for them.
Yeah.
So I've been like a freelance writer for a long time, you guys.
That's
it's like nobody wanted to learn how to type, but I knew how.
A lot of people are like, well, I got my start in first grade when I made my, like a little board book in class. Like, that's when I started becoming a writer. And you're just like, yeah, AOL Instant Messenger, hook me up.
Well, it taught me, yeah, typing, and now I type 129 words per minute. And my favorite thing is when people don't believe me and then I show them. But like when I'm subbing, it's a lot of fun, because the kids are like, no one can type that fast. And the teacher's computer is attached to the little screen projector that goes on the wall. Yeah. So I'll type stuff, and they like to, one of my favorite things is they like to tell me what to type. So I'm just typing everything as they're saying it, and it's very impressive. And I'm like, guys, this is my job. This is what I do.
Keyboards make a difference too on that, I will say.
Yeah, for sure.
For Christmas, and I type like twice as fast as I was on the old keyboard, and the keys are just like they're like almost flat to the keyboard, and my old keys were up, and it was just tactilely different experience. But I wanted to hop back to dictation for a second. I forgot what I was going to say. I had one more thing to add. Oh, one of the reasons I wanted to do it was because sitting all the time is like, I think it's like just lately, for whatever reason, like maybe it's because it's colder and wintertime, like my body.
We're getting old.
That also. But I want to be able to do something. So I'm going to look into your Amazon your treadmill? I was waiting for next Christmas because
I'll
that's
send you the links. Well, okay, so there's a ton of different treadmills, and they make some that are really cheap that are just called walking treadmills. But then I was like, no, so mine's are walking and running because I think the walking ones, they're not sturdy enough to run on.
Yeah,
So I didn't want something to fall apart, but I also didn't want very expensive. But they make actual treadmill desks, but they're like $2,000. Like I could not find a cheap treadmill. And I was like, these are cool if you worked in a corporate office or something. But and then they make some treadmills you can take off the top part and just keep the belt on the bottom so you can slide it under an existing desk, like a standing desk, I guess. But mine's just a regular treadmill, and I just put a board on top of, because it's got the little handrails, just put a board on top of it and put my computer, and it works just fine. So I've seen some people online will like zip tie it or whatever, but mine's not sliding off. Mine's just fine. So you can make it yourself. And I definitely recommend getting the pink one because it's beautiful.
Were there other colors?
They had black, silver, and pink. And I was actually going to get the black one. And then as I was scrolling through the Amazon page, because I did like 5 hours of research on these things, I saw that there was a pink option. I was like, what? This is a sign. And my daughter was like, so it's so funny. So right now I put it in the living room because I wanted to be able to watch TV and walk. And my daughter was like, that is going away when my friends come over. So I think it's cool. So eventually I'm going to put it up here in my office so my family won't be embarrassed by it. But I think it's amazing. I love it, and it works really well. So you should definitely get one.
Well, I would like to. It's such a huge investment though, so that's kind of what I've been holding off on. Writer Tam says I can type and hold a convo at the same time. I cannot.
I do. My husband thinks it's so weird, but it's usually like I already know what the sentence I'm going to say. So then I'll glance back at him and answer him, and my fingers keep going. But yeah.
Texting and talking at the same time, I'll start saying what I'm texting to the person. I'm just like, okay, no, they can't.
I've done that. So do we want to answer Matt's question?
Yeah, let's answer Matt's question. Do you have it in front of you?
Yes.
Okay, because my computer went to sleep, so do you want to read it?
It says, hi, I know you both outlined, but the question I'd like to ask is, have you ever started a piece of writing with a strong set of characters, but only an outline of a story in the hope that during the writing, the book will take on a life of its own and reveal itself during the process? You want to go first?
I can go first, yes. So yes, the answer is always yes. Anything is possible. I think when authors or writers or writing teachers or whatever tell you like there's only one way, you run into trouble because that is not true. Writing is a creative endeavor and it can happen in any number of ways. So yes, absolutely. Although I find that having the outline, as you know, is very helpful. And I think just having a knowing the characters and really being immersed in who they are, I think can go a really, really long way in writing a compelling story. But there are, I always forget the word I want to use when I'm talking about this kind of thing. Like there are like signposts or guideposts or something that you want to like hit along the way. And even if you know your characters really well, like what is the story? What is their story? What are you trying to tell? So having a sense of that, I think, is also important. Just having, like character A and B go on an adventure and discover magic beans or something. I don't know. I think you do need like a seed of that. But the characters, I think, can tell you what they want. I think that's part of a creative process. You can kind of tap into who they are and what their motivations are in life. And if you really are having like a deep we sound crazy when we say stuff like this, but when you have a deep relationship with your fictional characters, I think you can kind of get a story out of that for sure. But so you don't find yourself doing everything other than writing, meaning procrastination. I do think it is helpful to have a better sense of where you're going in the story, even if it's just like one page with a couple notes of an outline. Yes, we sound crazy when we talk about this kind of thing, but writers understand.
Yeah. So I think it's an interesting question because he said, do you start writing with the hope that during writing the book will take on a life of its own? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, that's how I write every book. Like, it's not even a hope, really. I know it. It's an expectation. Like, I know that once I start writing, it's going to come alive. and my characters are going to come alive and the story is going to come alive. And that's one reason why I always tell people when people get snarky and hate on the outlining process, because I've had several authors say, you know, like, oh, I don't outline because that's just not creative, because then you got to stick to this outline and that's boring and how could that be fun? And I'm like, no, like you said, there's goalposts, and like we've discussed before, every story needs to follow the hero's journey, whether you want it to or not, or whether you think you're so creative you don't need it. You really do. Every story has to have your hero go on this journey and hit these goalposts. And for me, that's what my outline is. It's pointing out all of those steps along the way that my characters need to hit. And it's also reminding me of continuity things, you know, like if they've got a dog or something and that's going to be an issue later on. So like the outline it's really just an outline, and it's not hindering my creative process at all. It's not making the book unable to come alive. It helps it along. So like I don't write with the hope that the book will come alive. I write knowing that it will come alive. And it's sometimes like, well, pretty much every book I write, it does veer from the outline a little bit, but usually not too much, because I've really honed my my process of writing outlines, and I mainly just hit those goalposts. And you can go to my website. I think there's even a link in my link tree on my Instagram profile where I've uploaded my outline template that's got all the hero's journey little marks on there that you have to hit. And so as long as I've got those in place, my characters can wander and do whatever they want to get there. And they always come alive. And sometimes that is the scary thing. That's why I haven't started writing my new book, because it's like, I know once I start, I'm just going to be like 100% on board and just absorbed with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't really have the time for that right now. So I'm just kind of waiting. But yeah, I think books.
Keep going. Sorry. Cassie made a comment.
Cassie says she doesn't use the hero's journey, and that's fine. And you may think you don't, but I'm tempted to go through one of your books and point it out. Because every character, like, you cannot write a book where the main character is happy, 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 nothing bad ever happens, happy, happy, the end. Like, your character has to get dragged through the mud. Like, he has to, you know, a good thing and then a bad thing, and then a good thing and then a bad thing, conflict and stakes. And that's basically the hero's journey. That's really all it is that your character has to go through a journey, and they have to come out on the other side of it having accomplished something or changed. Yeah, so that's a hero's journey. And it's not a rule. It's bad storytelling if your character doesn't have a journey, you know? So, and I would be interested to try to find a book that doesn't have a hero's journey. And maybe, I'm not tempted to Google it, maybe some people have, but for the most part, for a satisfying story, you've got to have that hero's journey. And so with my outline, that's kind of, and I know it's a lot of my outlines will get very detailed, but that's just to help me write quickly. Like Deirdre said, I think last time, which I really latched onto this phrase, it's your draft zero. Because my outline, like, I'll make real detailed outlines, because then I just write so much faster when I already know every scene that's going to happen. But before I started making really detailed outlines, my outlines would be like one sentence for every couple chapters. So maybe kind of like a summary, you know. And it's like, it just keeps you in line while you're writing to make sure you're telling that good story. Because I could never just start free writing with no outline or plan in mind. To me, it would just be like, it'd be fun maybe, but it's like, you're going to have to clean up that story so much. And I'm not writing just for the fun of it. I'm writing for publication. So I like to fit the boxes. And I hope that doesn't sound trite. I enjoy writing a hero's journey and writing to my outline.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Cassie also said you don't have to stick to the outline. And that's true. I think if you know your characters really well and you feel really confident in that, just having, you know, even just a tagline, a log line, like this is what happens, or just like I said before, like one page. And then, yeah, I mean, I always veer off my outline every time. There's something, like there's a detour, there's something that comes up that I wasn't expecting. Like there is definitely a lot of room for spontaneity and creativity in my outline. But when I have the outline, I know that when I'm on chapter 3 or chapter 8, I know that I can get to chapter 25 and not get lost and not get stuck, because for me anyway, that's, I really, really love to write, and I write pretty much every day, and I don't, and this, sometimes this is part of people's processes, but I don't like going days and days and days and not having written anything because I'm stuck, because
Exactly.
Yeah, like
And that's the beauty of an outline. It keeps you going.
yeah, yeah.
And it keeps you on point too. You don't
yeah,
veer off into some pothole that's never going to get resolved.
right. And it keeps the forward momentum and pacing. I mean, there's so many things, but that all said, I have pantsed a book, and I probably did more pantsing in the beginning when I started writing, like a decade ago, because I just didn't know. And that's not to say that any of you pantsers don't know, but I just found over time, as I've gone on my own writing journey, what works for me, and obviously what works for you, Cheyenne. You just find your own process. And that all said, each book is a little bit different. I don't follow the same exact outline each time. And, you leave yourself open to possibilities. And, I have written a book that was over 100,000 words long and cut 40,000 of those words, added 40 more in, cut 25,000. I mean, like, stuff happens. I was not following the original outline at all. So, I mean, that all said, like, you just kind of have to see where the story is going to take you while knowing that you're hitting these certain beats within a story, because otherwise, yeah, your reader's going to walk away and just be like, there's something about that book. I don't know what it was. Something was missing. Like, they're just not satisfied, like you said.
Right. Well, and I think it really is everyone's process. And the thing with writing is there's two very different types of writing. There's writing for the love of it, and there's writing for publication. And I quit writing for the love of it like 10 years ago. Like, I started writing because I want to be published. And it really is kind of the engineer in me that I enjoy having the outlines. I enjoy knowing where I'm going. I enjoy planning it out. It's almost like being an architect of a novel. And, like starting with that foundation of an outline. And I think, and a lot of the comments here are saying the same thing, like when you start out as a brand new writer, I think almost every brand new writer probably just starts out just free writing for fun with no outline. I certainly did, because I thought, that's how you write a book. You just sit down and you make one. And then over time, and then everyone says, yeah, it ends up with this messy book that takes a lot longer to fix. I think Rachel said that. The comments are scrolling by me. But so, I really do enjoy my outline. I 100% agree with it. Tammy said, now outlines sound like a great idea. And yes, they do, Tammy. Go to my website and download that template I made, because it really helps if you're starting out with an outline. But for me, it's like I do it for publication, and maybe that's kind of a sellout excuse. But I'm not just going to, at this point in my career, like this is my career, this is my full-time job. I'm not just going to write for fun and say, oh, well, if I meander and wonder and have plot holes, I can fix them later. It's like, I don't have time for that. Like I'm writing to get this book published. So, and if that's your goal is being published, I think having an outline is so easy. But like we always say, try it out for yourself, because I cannot remember who, but one mega famous author had tweeted at some point not too long ago that they have pantsed every novel they've ever written. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I almost didn't really believe it. I'm kind of like, did you pants it, but then your agent fixed it for you? Because it's like, that just sounds so hard, to just make up all these books, and they said they start writing it and have no idea how it's going to end. I'm like, to me, and this person said that's why they don't like outlining, because if outlines are boring to them, they like to see what happens to the story on its own. And in my head, I'm thinking just starting a book with characters and no plot would be boring to me. Like, I would feel compelled to make them do something. Like, what's going on here? I'm bored. So I really love my outlines, and I think that's what works for me. So definitely try it out. Rachel said, I write a loose summary and to check the boxes that I know I need to have conflicts. Exactly. And that's what we're saying. Like, you need to hit those little points in your story.
And the thing is too, I'm going to come back to this, because I think sometimes some of us writers, there's the old adage, like, just get your butt in the chair and start writing. Like, sometimes that's just what you need to do. Just start writing. And especially at the beginning of your writing journey, just that's what you need to do. Fine. Like, we're not really talking about that. But the other thing is, if you have commitment issues and you write your outline or you write some notes, you don't have to, like, that's not like written in blood. Like, it doesn't have to be. You can change it up as you go along.
Right.
What we're saying, the outline serves a purpose in terms of making sure you hit those notes that are essential to every story, because I'm just highlighting what you said. Like if it's just like everything is good, and sometimes like I'll be talking to my kids about some of the stuff I'm doing to my characters, and they're like, "Mom, you're so mean." I'm like, "But would you want to read a story where like everything is merry and jolly the whole way through? Like maybe a board book, but not like."
I was about to say, yeah, maybe a little kid's Christmas book. I don't know. But even then, even then, you have to have conflict. So
yeah. So a couple more comments here. I'm going back to outline my work in progress. After years of struggling with it, hope to have the outline set up this weekend. Go, Jen, you can do it.
yeah, go Jen. And I have promised Jen that I will take her out for coffee once she writes 5,000 words.
Yeah.
So get that outline done. You know what? This offer also applies to once you finish that outline, because you're going to love it. If you've never outlined before, you're going to absolutely love it.
Yeah. And then Cassie, I usually write my blurbs first. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that kind of just gives you a sense of what's going to happen. Like a mini.
I always write a little mini blurb for myself. It's not really, I share it with you, but it's not really even the blurb I would share with my agent or anyone else because it's very sloppily written. But I do write like a little query-esque type blurb for myself.
Yeah.
And then I outline, and then I usually don't make a synopsis unless I absolutely have to. But that little, it's like the little back of the book blurb query thing, little short summary. That's really what always propels me to start outlining the book, because it's like, that's just kind of this fun little hook that makes you excited about the story. So I always do that first too, for sure. And usually when I get a book idea, that's how I like chart it. Like I'm like, oh, I have a new book idea. And I write a little short query for it and then set it aside. And I probably have like 20 of those on my computer right now.
Well, it's good. Like it's good to have all that. Like it makes you feel like abundant with ideas. So anyway, Matt, we hope that we answered your question. We come back to outlining all the time, but like the answer is absolutely yes. Like the answer is always yes. Like you can do anything. It's fiction. It's creative.
Right. But don't worry that outlining your book will stifle the creativity, because you still have to, an outline might be a few thousand words. You still have to write a whole book. Like there's what, 70,000-ish words left you still have to come up with outside of your outline. So plenty of room for creativity, I promise.
Yeah. Yep. So if does anyone else have questions? I actually have to leave a little bit early today because I have an appointment. Okay. But if anyone's wondering anything about outlining or not about outlining, I got a request. So yes. Synopsis.
Yay for your request. But yeah, synopsis hell sucks. One thing I suggest, I tell everybody, go to Susan Dennard's website. It's susandennard.com/writers. Writers? Just Google it. She has a blog post about writing a synopsis, and it's brilliant. And I literally go to that blog post every single time I have to write my own synopsis. So hopefully that will help you.
Yes, it is. It's tricky, but you know what? Once it's done, it's done. It's like a small victory, and then you have it. And if you ever need to use it again, it's done. Like when I've written a few, and when I have to go back for whatever reason, just like because I've forgotten whether or not I did it, I'm like, I wrote one. Like, it's like later on you'll thank yourself, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay, Cassie said she used Susan Dennard. Susan Dennard, she has so many amazing resources on her website for writers. If you have questions about querying, about outlining, about hitting some of these notes that we talk about here in your outlining process, she has some great resources if you want to get a little bit geeky and read those too. And she writes some really good books, and she's a great gal. So,
yep, she has given so much free writing advice. It is ridiculous. Like she really deserves all of our praise because she's amazing. So, yeah, do we have any other questions? I kind of wanted to bring up something, but it might take too long to talk about.
I have 5 minutes.
Okay, so let's talk about Instagram real quick in regards to book or Instagram aesthetics. Because I have noticed, so you know that the hashtag Bookstagram is incredibly popular, and there's all these big famous book bloggers that post these beautiful, amazing, professional photos of books, and they get a ton of follows and likes. And I see some authors try to replicate that, but for me, it's like, I'm not a book blogger. Why would I spend all this time posting hundreds of pictures of other people's books? Like, I'm an author account.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to put, because I tell myself when I follow an author that I like, I want to see, little behind the scenes bits on their lives and stuff. I don't want to see them posting pretty pictures of books. Like, who cares? That's what book bloggers are for. So, but then I've noticed, I just want to get what are your thoughts? Because it's like this whole curating your Instagram feed to some beautiful artistic thing is like very popular. And I can't / won't do that / am incapable of doing that because I'm not a good photographer. So, and sometimes I wonder, like, is this harming me? Like, should I be trying to post these beautiful pictures, or should I just continue to be myself? Because I really want to be myself. But at the end of the day, I would like as much followers and engagement as possible because that's how you get your book out there. And sometimes we need to be a little bit selfish because we are teensy tiny little fishes in this huge ocean of books. And anything we can do to get more followers and more engagement is only going to help our career. So what do you think about it?
I think about this a bit too, because I've noticed that. And so on the one hand, I think because writers are generally readers too, and they love books, like they might just be enjoying the creativity of doing like a little project like that. It might be a break during their writing day, or just something to do to kind of still be creative, like we've talked about, if you're stuck or whatever, they might just genuinely enjoy that. But I also think, we've both been here on Instagram for years now. I think so much has changed in terms of visibility that it is like a matter of like, how can I get eyes on my stuff? And it just has to, like, there's like the pressure to be everything to be more aesthetic, to be more curated, to be like shinier and glossier or matte, and like all these, like you see like
filtered and yeah.
I always come back to just be yourself. But I think I've been on Instagram here for like, I don't know, 6 years, something like that.
Me too, like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, I have only 700 followers, and I have another account for something else that I have thousands of followers on. It's not book related, but I'm just like, there's like a disparity there, and so I think this is something to kind of have an ongoing conversation about, particularly about branding, and kind of being a public figure. Well, just like me, I'm an author in my house, and like we're hanging out chatting today.
Well, it's like that's the problem that I have with, like, we say the word branding. I know branding's important, blah blah blah, but nothing seems so disingenuous to me than an author Instagram page that's super curated and beautiful, and it's like you don't know a thing about the person, just that they post pretty book pictures and stuff. It's like, why bother? I don't know, like, why bother having an author account? So it's like, it just seems so disingenuous to me, and I don't follow those people. I do follow my favorite book bloggers that take beautiful pictures because they're book bloggers. But it's like, as an author, I'm not a book blogger. I will post pictures of my favorite books, to hype them up because I love them and I want to represent them. But like, it's just a huge struggle to me because on one hand, yes, I would like to be popular and have thousands of followers because those followers might become readers and might know who I am and might show up to my book signings. But on the other hand, it just feels so gross and slimy to me to like try to pander to the hashtags and likes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's something I've really been struggling with, and I'll go through my feed and I'll archive photos if I think they're kind of ugly. And it's like, what am I doing? Because when it's like, my feed is not beautiful. You go look at it right now. It's like a mixture of book stuff and my dog, and it's like food. But it's like, it's something that really bothers me. At the end of the day, lately, I've just been saying, whatever, just be yourself. But at the end of another day, I'm thinking, if I had 10,000 followers, how much would that help my career?
Right. I think on Instagram it comes back to engagement versus followers, but
right.
But the more the more followers you have, more people are engaging, the more visible you become, and that's a whole thing. Coming back to what you were saying about like the disingenuousness of it. Same when it's like just ads for an author has just ads for their book on their whole feed. Like, it's
nobody wants to see that, and I unfollow those people instantly. Yeah. So it's like there's a balance between self-promotion, and then and this sounds really bad to say, but it's true, because like if I had a choice between having 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers who are all book-loving people, yes, I want the 10,000 followers. How do I get the 10,000 followers? Because it will only help my career. And you see, like, I'll see an author release a new book or get a book deal, and they've got 1,500 likes on the post. When I announce it, I get 20. So it's like, who's going to sell more copies of their book? Right. So then I keep thinking, how do I get that engagement? And it's just so lost on me. And yeah, I've spent at least 6 or 7 years on Instagram. I have barely any followers to show for it. And it's like, and again, this is one of those things, we call them admin things because it's not writing things, it's administrative tasks being a writer. And at the end of the day, lately, I've just been saying whatever, and it's like I just need to focus on my books. But this is something that plagues me.
Well, I think because like the landscape has changed so much in terms of how to reach people and what people are doing and that whole thing, for me, I'm trying to think of how to say this. Like, I think it is a balance of kind of what we have learned in terms of being independently published is you kind of have to play the game. And in traditional publish, like there's a whole other game that you have to play. But in independent publishing, like you're writing to market. We talk about that kind of thing. And I think in a way, branding yourself and kind of being active on a social media at least is just part of the way it is now. And it's like, just, okay, we have to accept it. Because a lot of people just like, they don't want to be a part of it. And it's fine. Like the same as writing a book, like it's different for everybody. Like there really are no rules. But if you do want to, publish for a career and earn money and support your family or yourself or whatever, I think there are things like just the same way in your outline, like there are notes you have to hit and there's, you need to be visible and all these things. But I think just the same as finding your method of writing, you find a way that you can authentically portray yourself on social media within your comfort zone. I saw Cassie said she doesn't like to post too much personal stuff on the same way.
Me too.
And also just there's time. Like I'd rather be spending my time writing, but on the other hand, I have met wonderful people like you and everyone here with us. And so it's an ongoing.
It's this weird balance. It's this weird thing. And lately I've been taking a social media break and I find that I am just happier without checking, especially right now. Do not go to Twitter right now with what's going on in our country. It is not fun. So it's like, I'm happier without it. But at the end of the day, when I'm laying down in bed thinking, why does my book suck so much and my sales are terrible and nobody even knows I exist, I keep thinking like, if I had a ton of, you know what I mean? Like, if I get more open and more active on social media, will more people care that I exist? And I think that's the problem with being a random mid-list, low-list, nobody author, is that you spend most of your career saying, I wish people knew I existed. It's like we are playing to an empty theater most of the time. We're not top 10 New York Times bestselling authors, and it's just so stressful because I just keep thinking, if I engaged with more people, if I had more followers, more people that knew who I was, would I be a more successful author? And I don't know if we have an answer for that. I think, sure, if the more popular you are, the more books you're going to sell. But how do you get that without being disingenuous? Because so much of this social media stuff is just so slimy to me, So anyway, do you need to go? I think it's been a while.
I need to go. I think we can continue this conversation on our Facebook page, our group.
Okay.
If anyone wants to has comments that we didn't get to or anything they want to contribute to this, because I think it's really relevant right nowadays to talk about this as an author, and I think it would be a good subject to talk about maybe next week to continue if anyone has questions or thoughts or anything about this, because I actually have a lot more to say. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, we could probably do a whole episode on Instagram or social media.
Yeah, like branding, social media, like that whole, it's kind of like how you engage with your readers and stuff like that. Branding requires you being genuine. Yeah, I like that, Cassie. We'll end on that note. Thank you everybody for joining us.
Alrighty, yes, thanks for joining us. Please find us on Facebook at Writers Uncut Group or YouTube to watch our old episodes. And thank you guys, and we'll see you next week at the same time, same place, on your phone.
On your phone.
Bye.
Bye.